All right, John Adams' presidency. So as Washington left office, he issued a farewell address. In that address, he was really clear with some things that he thought we needed to think about as a country moving forward. He said there's two things that we need to avoid. One of them is political parties. He said political parties are dangerous. They're going to tear our country apart. And he also said that we need to avoid permanent alliances with other countries, that those things were not going to help us as a United States. Do we follow his advice? Not really. They try to at first in some areas, but overall, we don't follow Washington's advice. So the election of 1796 is the first real election. Washington had been more of a unanimous pick. In this election, John Adams is running against Thomas Jefferson. They represent two political parties. John Adams is a Federalist. Thomas Jefferson is a Republican. Okay, we see a lot of mudslinging in this election where they're attacking the other side. Jefferson's called a coward for his actions in the Revolution. Adams' rotund size is pointed out in the newspaper. Jefferson and Adams themselves don't participate in a lot of that. It's more of their campaign that's putting out this negative information. The campaign lasted 6 weeks in total, which is very short compared to modern campaigns. The way that the Constitution was written at the time was that whoever got the most votes would be president, and whoever got the second highest number of votes would be vice president. And so in that way, Adams became president. Jefferson was his vice president, even though they were from different political parties. So one main issue that comes up during Adams's presidency is called the XYZ affair. France and Britain were at war with each other, and American trading ships were trying to continue to try and trade with both countries. They don't like that. So the French start to seize those American ships, stealing their cargo. British had been doing that similarly earlier, and we had ended it with Jay's Treaty. And so Adams tries to do what Washington did and send diplomats to go and negotiate with the French. However, when they get there, they are approached by Agents X, Agent Y, and Agent Z and asked to pay a bribe and have their government give a loan to the French government in exchange for a negotiation. This infuriates Adams. He is so mad about this. He refuses to pay the bribe. He refuses to give the loan. And then he releases this whole report to the public so that everybody knows what happens. And now everybody in the United States is really upset with this idea of this bribe. Because of that, there was a lot of public support for a possible war with France. The Federalists are able to expand their army and expand their navy, raise taxes, and so Adams gains power because of the XYZ affair. Later on, Adams is able to negotiate an agreement with Napoleon, who is the leader of France eventually, and we avoid war. Another major thing that goes on while Adams is president is the passage of laws called the Alien and Sedition Acts. So Adams had become very sensitive to criticism towards himself and the other Federalists. We know that a lot of immigrants would belong to the Democratic Republican Party. And so because of that, he targets immigrants and people who are criticizing him. So in the Alien and Sedition Acts, there's actually 4 separate laws. The first 3 are about immigrants. One lengthens the amount of time it takes to become a citizen of the United States, making it more difficult. A second one makes it possible for the president to deport Americans he thinks are dangerous. And a third makes it possible for the president to deport citizens from unfriendly nations. And all of these were meant to target French people and French immigrants who are living in the United States. The fourth law is called the Sedition Act, and that made it possible for the government to jail anyone who made a false, scandalous, or malicious statement about government officials. During this time period, 17 newspaper editors are arrested and convicted, even though this is something that does not follow the Constitution of the United States. The Supreme Court didn't take this on as a case, and so it never was taken away out of the law. It eventually expired. All of these stories are true. So Adams' presidency only lasts for 4 years. In the election of 1800, Adams loses to Jefferson. Things got a little complicated in this election because they had introduced the idea of a running mate. And so Aaron Burr was supposed to be running as Jefferson's running mate, but it was really unclear to the electors of who they were supposed to vote for. And so they end up in a tie, and it goes to the House of Representatives to decide who is going to become the president. And they vote repeatedly, getting a tie vote every time. After 36 separate votes, Alexander Hamilton steps in. Even though he is Jefferson's enemy, Burr is his bigger enemy. He tells Congress that Burr is completely without principles. He would be a horrible president. They believe Hamilton. They elect Jefferson. It's an enemy now for Hamilton. Eventually, Burr is going to kill him. After this election, the 12th Amendment is added to the Constitution to prevent this from happening again, making it so the president and the vice president run together on one ticket. So John Adams, very short presidency, just a couple of things there, the XYZ affair and the Alien and Sedition Acts that are really key with Adams.